All right, what is up, my fellow nerds and gangsters? Welcome back to the Spiffy Nerd Hitter channel. I am Danny. I am live streaming from an undisclosed location because I'm cool like that. And so I'm in a new location today, and I want to talk a little bit about Jurassic Park because that's what I watched today as I was working. And I'm not gonna lie, I was disappointed with the film. I'm just kidding. Completely not. I love this movie. I think it's incredible. It is definitely one of the. Let's see here, hopefully I am making sound. Okay, looking at my levels there. Um, the this film is just incredible. I mean, I love the opening when it's just kind of this ominous music over the title cards. So it's not just straight black, but we're hearing this ominous music. When we fade into the opening shot, all we hear is that we see this big cage being loaded. Things are in Spanish, which heightens the mystery. I mean, then we got the extreme close-ups of Muldoon's eyes and the raptor's eyes as it's the raptor is getting the gatekeeper, and it just sets the tone that this film, as we go for the extreme close-ups of the raptor's eyes and Muldoon's eyes, it sets the stage that this film is all about man versus beast, and I love it. Okay, so that Gold Taco and Carly, I can always count on both of you. Welcome to the stream tonight. I also love this movie. Yeah, I heard the end of Modern Family is tonight. I'm only, I used to watch Modern Family a little bit. I have probably not seen an episode in 6 years, but very funny. But yeah, this movie just it blows my mind every single time I see it. One of the things that I really noticed this time around is how Spielberg uses one shots to reveal things. The traditional filmmaking is we get a reaction, something happens off screen, we get a reaction from a character, and then we reveal it. In other words, we cut to reveal something. But what I noticed is that he is constantly doing reveals in a single shot. So one instance that comes to mind is when Lex, Tim, and Dr. Grant, they're out gallivanting around the island because some big dinosaur tried to eat them. And the camera's following them, tracking from behind. They hop over a log. Both Lex and Tim keep walking, but Dr. Grant's just chilling, looking down at something. Now, in my mind, it's almost like you cut to over his shoulder. You see what he's looking down on. But Spielberg is a little bit too cool for that. And he keeps the camera going up, like kind of over the log, and then tilts down to see that Dr. Grant is looking at all the broken eggshells. Of course, this is a big deal in the film because these animals are not supposed to be having babies. Okay, when he shows he shows reactions of something happening, he uses a close-up or a zoom to the person's face. Big time. So Spielberg is huge when it comes to the Spielbergian pushing. I hope you guys have seen the video that I've done just on this topic because he's the master at it. It's like, and he'll use it in a bunch of different situations too. One of the scenes that I enjoyed a little bit more this time around is one of the talking scenes where they're having a lunch after they've gotten to the island, and Dr. Hammond is like saying, "Well, what do you think?" And Ian Malcolm saying, "I don't like it. You're messing with nature." Then you got Dr. Sattler, Laura Dern's character. She's like, "You know what? You're messing with Mother Nature. These things are going to defend themselves violently if necessary." And these are all static singles as they're talking. But then Dr. Hammond's like, "Dr. Grant, you of all people must be able to appreciate what I'm trying to do here." And Spielberg, as Dr. Grant is saying, essentially, we're all just trying to keep up with all this. He's doing a slight push on it because it's kind of the event of the scene where Dr. Hammond realizes that things aren't going to be easy during this whole process. And it's foreshadowing all the problems that are going to come. And when I say the event of the scene, it's a term that I used, that I learned at USC from a directing professor of mine named Barnett Kellman, who is a fantastic director. And the event of the scene is like the emotional event of the scene. It's why the scene exists. It is the climax it's kind of the climax of the scene, but it's the climax of the scene kind of for the character. It's why does the scene exist? What is the crux of this scene? Okay, so that Gold Taco says he uses the Zolly in Jaws, when he shows the police guy's reaction to the shark attack when more people are around. But that is a conversation for tomorrow. It is, and I have watched about half of Jaws today because I can. And yeah, that's a big scene. The Zolly is a zoom slash dolly. It's it traditionally it's been used for those type of moments where it's like a moment of realization, where what happens is as you either zoom out or zoom in, you uh, do the opposite with the dolly. So if you're zooming in, yes,
Um,
what that came up. All right. Okay, go to bed.
You want to know what it does?
No. Go look.
It charges my magical land that I'm making.
Oh, it charges him up. All right.
No magical land.
Oh, the magical land. They say hi. He's wearing his Star Wars Lego pajamas. But yeah, so with the Zolly, if you are dollying in, you're zooming out. If you're dollying out, you're zooming in. And what that does is it keeps the foreground, the thing that you are focused on, the foreground character, basically the same size and frame, but it manipulates how the perspective of the background as you do it. And Spielberg uses it in Jaws. I don't recall seeing one in Jurassic Park. Yeah, because nowadays it's mostly only used for comedy. It was a big thing. Scorsese did it a lot. I mean, he would even do it during just dialogue scenes. Like in Goodfellas, there's a scene where two characters are sitting just at a diner table, and Scorsese does this ollie throughout the entire scene. It's a very slow one, so it's very subtle, but it kind of gives that unsettling feeling. All right, so Carla, I actually practiced dollies in my video production class, and it's really cool for dramatic, funny parts. Yeah, so I assume you mean zollies rather than dollies. Zolly is a term. Some people use it, some people don't. But it's mostly used for comedy nowadays. I don't know why, but it's just kind of fallen out of favor for dramatic filmmaking. Like it really worked in Jaws. I mean, Jaws was made in the 70s. But he also Spielberg still used it sparingly. It's one of those things where maybe you get one or two moments if you're doing a dramatic film. Maybe you get one or two moments in a movie, probably just one. But if you're doing a comedy, you can get away with a little bit more because it's just kind of taken on that tone to it. Okay, it's a very fun shot to shoot with small handheld cameras, but I'm surprised I haven't used it this year where I have a dolly to use. Mostly because I'm the only one in my class that knows about it. Well, teach him about it. Show him about it. Show him the scene from Jaws too. You'll see it a lot also in animated films. You'll notice them a lot in animated films because you can just go to town with a Zolly in animated films because it is a very difficult shot. Mostly because you have to have an awesome focus puller. The guy, it's usually the first AC. He's got to be on his A game so that your subject is never coming out of focus. And so, but in regards to Jurassic Park, I don't recall seeing one in Jurassic Park. But I noticed a few structural things when watching Jurassic Park this time that we learn about that Nedry's going to steal the embryos prior to Grant and Sattler even getting to the island. So prior to them even getting to the island, we know that something's going to go down. We know that there's going to be some problem happening. And then when the storm is approaching the island, that is concurrently edited with Nedry doing his setting up the security failures on his computer. And so we have those two things, the storm and Nedry doing his thing happening at once, because those two things will coalesce to basically cause panic throughout the entire film. The old guy looked like John Williams. Which old guy? I'm not sure. Let's hear it. You talking John Hammond? Dr. Hammond? Richard Attenborough? So the one with the cane, yeah, is John Hammond. Yeah, that's Richard Attenborough. Had a little more hair, doesn't he, than John Williams? I don't know. But Richard Attenborough is an old school actor. All the way back to, I think he was like in. Oh man, he's just an old school actor, and he directed a lot. Like I think he directed Gandhi with Ben Kingsley. Um, so he is when Spielberg got him, he was the biggest star of this film, really. And Spielberg got him essentially because he wanted to work with him, and he just begged him to do it. And because he wasn't pseudo retired at the time, but he really wasn't acting anymore. He had switched into directing. I highly recommend watching a lot of his films. He's just one of those old school directors, kind of like the David Lean, or that type of director that just knows his stuff to the T. Um, Another thing I noticed while watching the scene, I love the scene where they feed the cow to the raptors. Mostly because we don't see jack about these raptors. We don't see anything about them. We get no inkling what they look like. I mean, we got the close up of the eyes in the opening scene, but in the feeding scene, we don't see anything, and we just hear sounds, and we just see all the plants like shaking. And when we're getting the reactions of the people, we're shooting. Spielberg is shooting through these plants shaking, and their looks of disgust and kind of uncertainty about this whole thing. Um, and I always like to look for low budget situations, that can be translated for filmmakers who don't have $200 million, and that is one to a T. I mean, it is uh, even you can show things without having to show them. Like for instance, I've long had an idea about some mercenaries that are guarding the last white rhino in the wild, and poachers come, they kidnap this white rhino, but in the process they also take hostage one of the children to one of the mercenaries, and so it goes on this long chase, basically, where the excuse me. Um, it goes on this long chase to basically get the white rhino back while not putting the child in jeopardy. And I thought, there's a version of that film where you don't even ever need to see the rhino. It's like, do you need to see it? Do you not? Um, and or you see it very rarely because the film is not about the white rhino. The film is about the child and the father, who's one of the mercenaries, the lead mercenary. Okay, so that Taco says they kept the dinosaurs unveiled for as long as they could. The reaction when they first saw the dinosaur took a few seconds. Yeah, I mean, when they first see the, I think it's a Brachiosaurus, is stuff of legend. I mean, one of the things that all the sequels to Jurassic Park have really never been able to maintain is that sense of wonder, that first moment where you see that dinosaur and it just blows you away. And you notice that the filmmakers went with the biggest, most majestic dinosaur they could. They could have gone with the little compies, the Procompsognathus, that's the little chicken things that we see a lot in the Lost World. But no, they went straight with the Brachiosaurus. And so we'll definitely look a lot more at basically delaying the gratification of seeing the monster tomorrow with Jaws, because that's the biggest thing of legend. I mean, the creature from the Black Lagoon really started it, where you don't see the creature until the very end of the film, and in Jaws they do the same thing. Jaws really paid off. The creature of the Black Lagoon was kind of ridiculous looking, so it really didn't pay off. All right, so Carly says Chris Pratt did a good job with being one of the main characters. I think he was the perfect person to be in the movie. So Chris Pratt so you're thinking Jurassic World. So I'm talking Jurassic Park right now. Jurassic Park was in 1993. Jurassic World was not. It was much more recent, within the last few years. Yeah, Chris Pratt. I like Chris Pratt because he has, he's got the ruggedness to him, but he also has a little bit of comedy to him. And films these days, they're a lot more dependent on comedic relief. I don't know if you guys like that or don't like it, but films are a lot more comedic based. I mean, you look at Guardians of the Galaxy and Jurassic World, both of which are Chris Pratt films. Marvel films. But then you look at Jurassic Park, where there's very little humor. There's a little bit, but not much. All right. So we're talking now Parks and Rec. I've only seen a couple episodes. I'm a horrible person. So what are your guys' favorite parts in Jurassic Park? That's what I want to know. Because I found, as I've talked to people about Jurassic Park, everybody has a different favorite part. I think for me, definitely my favorite part. I got two. One is when the T-Rex breaks out of his paddock and goes to town on their cars. Just because the animatronics in that scene are so incredible. And when they shot that scene, they had so many problems with it because they had tested the T-Rex animatronic. It worked perfectly. It was great. But they never tested it in the rain. And what they found is when they had the big rain towers going, that the skin was absorbing the rain, and the really fine-tuned animatronics, the weight was totally different. And so it was like shaking. And so they were like sitting there with towels trying to like dry the skin as they were shooting. It turned out great, of course. But all right. So the favorite parts are when the kids are eating the food and they see the shadow of the dinosaur. Man, I love that part. It's just and the shadow kind of overshadows the painting of the raptor on the wall. It's like, see, those are the things that makes one of the many things that makes Spielberg films so great. The typical filmmaker, myself included, we would have just straight up had the shadow on the wall, if that, right? But no, he's like, no, let's have the shadow of the wall also kind of interact with the painting of that dinosaur on the wall to kind of give it that extra feel of they're being hunted by something that is alive. It's not make believe. Great idea, a great thing. And the Jello starts to shake. I mean, again, Spielberg could have given her any freaking food. You know, she could have been holding rice. She could have been anything, but no, let's give her a freaking huge piece of Jello that's just going to shake and jiggle there as she's the shadow. I mean, it's little things like that really do make a difference. Of course, the entire story is the biggest thing, but little things really go a long way. Okay, so the other things is so Carly also says when the children are being chased by the velociraptors in the kitchen, I assume you're talking about. Such a good scene. Of course, in Jurassic Park: Fallen Kingdom, we had a callback to that moment with the dumbwaiter where Maisie, or I think that's her name, whatever the little clone girl is, she gets in the dumbwaiter and is trying to shut it and stuff. But great scene. So the food looked great. They looked like they were having the time of their life. I was getting hungry. It's true. And the T-Rex scene, yeah. So that's my other favorite. My other favorite part is the T-Rex scene. But my other favorite part is when Muldoon is hunting the raptor, and he's really slowly unhooking his gun. And again, it's another moment where Spielberg picks the biggest gun that he can that is not ready to be shot. He's got to unfold it. He's got to crank down the butt stop. He's got to put it to his shoulder, take aim. It's like 15 steps to shoot this raptor. And then, of course, the raptor pokes out of the leaves and gets him. I used to draw that picture as a kid, like every single week, basically. I was obsessed with it. But it's, such a way to raise the tension. And, he says we're being hunted, and Ellie just takes off booking it towards the main compound so she can reset the power. And she's, jumping through water. She's making all this noise. The people in A Quiet Place, they would have died a long time ago. So what are any other viewers that are watching? What are some of the other favorite scenes when it comes to Jurassic Park? And who has not seen this? Has anybody not seen this movie? I definitely want to know that. It came out in 1993. I mean, it's been almost 30 years since this movie came out. It was a pioneer in CGI. It was one of the first films to have realistic looking CG characters that still look pretty great. They were going to do stop motion for the longest time for this film. Phil Tippett, who was one of the biggest stop motionographers, was going to do it, but Steven eventually decided that it didn't look real enough without the motion blur. You don't get motion blur with stop motion because motion blur is caused by motion. You can see my hand getting blurry. But when you're taking a still, a still, a still, you don't get that blur. Um, and and so they decided to go with CGI, and they used some of Phil Tippett's. They had like little rigs, dinosaur rigs, that they would do the motion to get the realistic movements, but they were CGI, so they can get the motion blur, and it really looked great. I mean, and then of course with tons of animatronics. But I'm a huge fan of this film. There's so many great moments. Let's see here. Bruno, hello there. What's up? Have you seen Jurassic Park? Was a movie we watched today for the watch list. If you have not checked out the watch list, it's in the description, the video description. It's a movie a day for the duration of this coronavirus lockdown, which I hope that people who, I hope the pandemic ends. I hope people who have it are, that they are safely get through it. So I hope this whole thing ends. But the watch list is meant to just kind of take our minds off it for a little bit, a few hours a day, give us something to do, and learn more about filmmaking. So tomorrow is I don't even know. Tomorrow is gonna be. I can get to my. Oh, Ferris or Jaws, of course. Tomorrow's Jaws. Okay, that Gold Taco. While watching Jurassic Park, I felt some chest pain, but I feel better now. I don't have it because I haven't been in contact with anybody. Good. Stay alone. Stay safe. So I think for Jurassic Park, I think it's by far the best of all of them. I liked probably Fallen Kingdom the second best. I really enjoyed that film. I thought it was really fun. Far from perfect, but I do enjoy the Lost World Jurassic Park, where the T-Rex comes to San Diego. Jurassic Park 3 is my least favorite for sure. From what I hear in the next Jurassic Park, the Jurassic World, that Dr. Grant is back, and I'm excited to see that. Sam Neill is a great actor. So those are the main things I noticed while watching the film. Trying to think if there's anything else. Once you watch this film and you rewatch Jurassic World and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, you see a lot more Easter eggs, a lot more spoilers, or not. Yeah, a lot more Easter eggs, not spoilers. A lot more Easter eggs that relate to the first film. It's an incredible work of art. I mean, I love this film. I adore it. Spielberg is amazing. So watch Jaws tomorrow or tonight. And be afraid to get into the water. Luckily, all the beaches are closed, so you don't got to worry about it. I have been married to my wife almost 9 years, and I still have yet to get her to watch Jaws. So I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, basically, you watch Jaws and you're afraid to go to the toilet. So tomorrow's Jaws, we'll be chatting about that. I love it. I've already got my notes going. I like to take notes every single time I watch a film. Sometimes it's just a few, sometimes it's a few pages. Just depends on how note-takingly I am feeling at the moment. But we can talk a little bit more about Zolly's, that Gold Taco brought up. Okay, I watched Jaws for the first time before I went on a trip to Hawaii, where I saw the Jurassic Park filming location. And you can't wait to watch Jaws. Well, good. I'm glad. We'll have a great conversation about Jaws tomorrow, because it is legit. It's an amazing film. Spielberg was, I think, 27 when he directed it too, which is humbling because I am older than 27 now, and I have not directed Jaws. All right. These live streams keep me from being too bored. Well, I'm glad they're somewhat exciting. Hit like if you can, if you'd like to. For all of you guys watching, bring questions. I can rant about movies for a while, but not indefinitely, and it's always more entertaining for all of us, when we interact with each other. But so tomorrow we'll talk Jaws. Don't watch it next to a pool of water because you'll die. And stay safe, stay indoors, stay alone, social distance, but joining us on the streams. If you have not seen Jurassic Park, you need to rethink your life. Go see it. It literally changes the way you look at movies because it's that good. So thanks again for joining. And as Gold Taco says, just remember to stay spiffy. Or what's my, yeah, stay spiffy and don't do anything I wouldn't do twice.